Cultivating great future leaders begins with creating and offering the most conducive environment for learning, exploring, experimenting within boundaries, and ongoing mentoring during key developmental periods of a young person's life. As a society, we have become so sophisticated that we can grow fruits and vegetables when they are not naturally in season. We can send an email letter in a matter of seconds, send folks into space, and we can formulate more than one vaccine to control a deadly virus. But we still struggle with committing to an investment in developing our youth in underserved areas for the betterment of our collective society as a whole.
Welcome to Small and Gutsy, a podcast featuring interviews with nonprofit and social impact organizations under $10 million. My name is Laura Witkoff, and I'm excited and proud to be your host. My hope is that you love the stories as much as we do, and perhaps you will find needed services, a job, volunteer, invest in, or donate. Feel free to pass along any valuable information you hear today to others, and remember to send me the name of any organization you'd like featured at reachus@theintrinsicgroup.com. Since 1949, the Variety Boys and Girls Club has responded to the needs of children in the Boyle Heights, East Los Angeles community by offering academic and leadership development programs that encompass a myriad of intellectual, social, and physical arenas. The club originally enrolled only boys, with a girls' club adjacent to the main building, but was one of the first clubs nationally to integrate genders in the 1980s. In 2008, the club opened a satellite club at Pueblo de Sol, less than 2 minutes away from the home site, and within a public housing development administered by the Los Angeles Housing Authority. The Variety Boys and Girls Club has provided a refuge for children who struggle daily with real-life circumstances of poverty, under-resourced neighborhoods, low educational attainment, gang violence, substance abuse, and poor health outcomes. The club's vision is that all children will have an opportunity to excel in school and career and contribute fully to society. I am so excited to introduce my guest today, Executive Director Patty Siqueiros. So let's get started. Welcome, Patty, and please share your passion about the Variety Boys and Girls Club, how you came to know about it, and anything that you want to share that teaches us more about the club.
Thank you, Laura, for inviting me to be part of your podcast. I think this is very exciting. At first, I was a little hesitant, but it's a great opportunity for us to share about our club and our organization and the work that we're doing. So thank you for providing this platform.
Of course.
I'm only 42, and I tell you my age because when I say the next statement, I don't want to age myself or make myself seem a little older than I really am. But I always say my journey to the Variety Boys and Girls Club happened over 3 decades ago. And it happened when I was at the age of 10 when my father passed away. My father passed away on New Year's Day in 1990, and it was unexpected. But I really feel that my journey here began there, and it was a really critical moment in my life. And there was this awareness that sparked in me, an awareness of not only what was happening in my family, the struggles financially, growing up in a single household, having a mom who had dropped out of high school at the age of 15 and not really being able to provide for her children. So those struggles really just infused this awareness. I grew up in a community 3.5 miles from the club, and there were a lot of things that the community members were dealing with that my club members now deal with, which is a lack of educational opportunities, gang violence, and also lack of access to quality health care. And so I was always puzzled about why this happened. And a few miles away from my home in communities like South Pasadena and San Marino, there was such differences in education. Mm-hmm. And so from a very early age, I really sought to find answers, not only for my own family and my family situation, but for my community. And I always wanted to fix something. I didn't know what I was trying to fix at that time, but I knew that there was something in me that wanted to fix something and make sure that people had opportunities and that kids didn't feel the way I felt growing up, this tension, feeling less than and not really having a voice. So then I decided the only thing I could really do to help out my mom, I'm 10, I can't really help her financially, but I can help her by distracting her and doing really well in school. That led me to getting a scholarship to a high school in Alhambra, which was a private school because the schools in my community were really not the best. And my mom didn't want to see me going to those high schools. And so after that, I graduated from high school. I went off to UC Berkeley, and I really began on this quest to find answers to some of the issues that were impacting my community. And so after Berkeley, at first I thought I was going to be a lawyer. And then I decided, that's not really going to help me make changes. Then I went off to graduate school and I went to Stanford. And I really wanted to see, maybe it's through education and educational reform. And so I got my master's in education. We had these amazing professors who were well respected in the field, but not many of them really stepped foot in some of the schools that they were describing. And so I thought, okay, well, there's a disconnect there. Okay, I'm going to work in different educational settings, nonprofits. And I found like I wasn't really making the change that I desired. So then I went back to school for a third time and I worked on my school counseling credential. And after getting my school counseling credential, I was really frustrated because I was at a high school level. I saw kids slipping through the cracks. And I was just really disillusioned. But it was my predecessor who brought me to the Boys and Girls Club, the Variety Boys and Girls Club, where I felt this instant connection. And I felt this excitement because I felt that here change could really happen. Finally, after all these years of searching, I found an organization where really we can transform lives because we start with the kids at a very early age, at the age of 5, and we start providing them with opportunities and addressing those deficits that they have academically and providing them resources and really helping the kids open the doors to a world of possibilities, then become what they are meant to be. It was at this club where I really found my calling and my passion. I've been here since 2012, and every day I feel excited to come to work, and I know that I'm meant to be here.
Patty, what an incredible story. You are creating in so many ways a second home for kids, or the way you describe it. And it's something that you really wanted yourself. That was the piece, that was the gap that was missing. Not that your mom wasn't able to do that, but when you have that tragedy at such a young age and your whole life changes, the best thing you could do was to be a good student, work hard. It sounds like now with the Variety Boys and Girls Club, you want to create that space for the entire community.
It's interesting that you use the term second home, and I felt a great deal of pride a few weeks ago because it's not only become a second home for my community members that we serve, our club members, but also for our staff. And I think this is one of the qualities that makes our organization unique is that the vast majority of our staff members come from the community and have graduated. And so they are real life proof that dreams can happen, one, and two, that through a higher education, they can start redefining their life circumstances and also inform our own practices and create programming that's also going to transform lives in our club members. So I feel a great deal of pride, and I feel that I'm surrounded by people who are like-minded and who also have that drive and passion to make a difference in the community that they grew up in.
And I use the word home, Patty, because of the feel that I get as you describe your experience in the place where you work. And I love the fact that you employ folks from the community who have experienced the club themselves very often and get to come back. It's like a second home for a lot of folks, is what it sounds like.
Kids cannot be what they cannot see.
Yes.
And I really, truly hold on to that. And even on our board, we have board members that came to the club that were scholarship recipients and now serve on our board, including our board president, who graduated from Harvard and UC Berkeley and have come back to pay it forward here in the community and at the club. And so there's a great deal of pride and heart that go into this club.
So share some of the programming at the club. When kids arrive, what are some of the things that they can expect?
As far as in a non-global pandemic year, like it's typically during the academic year, it's after school programming and it's academic enrichment. And all of our programming is, we divide our club into departments. And so the kids are learning about digital art, visual arts. They have access to a college and career center. They have access to an aquatic center. They have access to the teen center or Brent's Club room. And so these departments are providing kids pathways to colleges and careers. So in the digital media center, they're learning about careers in digital media, and they're learning about how to become event planners and gaining skills in computer skills and technology skills. And as young as 7-year-olds are manipulating images on Adobe Illustrator and Photoshop. And there we start planting the seed that eventually something they love can become their career pathway. It's an opportunity for them to do something that they wake up every morning and feel passionate about.
The same way that you sort of sought something that was passionate for you, you're allowing children to explore, because going to work doesn't have to be a chore. It can be something you love to do. And I really appreciate that. It's really amazing. You mentioned this already in non-COVID or non-pandemic, and I do need to ask this. So during this whole year must have been so challenging for the club. What were some of the things that you did? How did you accommodate for this, where we couldn't go out of our homes very often?
During the pandemic, I think that we were very resourceful and we were flexible, and we also learned how to pivot. And so where we were used to having our club sites filled with kids, we knew that that wasn't safe, one. And two, that maybe we would have to reach our kids in a different way. Mm-hmm. The other thing that we did is that we informed ourselves based on connecting to the community and asking the community, what is it that they need? What are the gaps that they're feeling in their lives now? And how can we be there as partners? Because the intent of our services and our programming isn't to feel like, we don't want people to feel like we're just providing a handout. Rather, we want them to feel uplifted and empowered.
Right.
And so with that, giving them a voice to inform us, like, this is what we need. So one of the things that we did that was different was delivered meals and groceries and produce to our families, because one of the things that has remained consistent in the back of the mind of our families is this idea of food insecurity and parents not feeling that they're going to be able to provide for their children. And so been going out there since March 24th, like Monday through Friday, providing meals to our kids. We provide over 500 meals a day to our club members and their families. And on Thursdays and Fridays, we augmented the meal delivery with groceries and produce, because we want our families to feel like, at the very least, that they'll be able to provide food for their children. In addition, we decided, like, one of the things that we didn't want the pandemic to do was to impact especially our high school students, impact their progression through high school. So we continue doing virtual academic counseling with our club members, and we reach about 100 kids virtually, and we make sure that they're on track towards high school graduation, college enrollment. What we also saw during the pandemic, a lot of the kids were feeling a disconnect. They didn't want to log on. It was easy not to log on. A lot of them were failing their classes, but we really, the root cause was because they weren't turning in assignments. So we ensure that our kids are doing the assignments and are getting through and have the resources that they need, whether it's, if they need technology, they could come to our club and we'll provide them with the technology. If they need a tutor, then we will connect them with the tutor. And so we wanted our kids also to feel that they weren't forgotten, that we were here to provide them the support. The other thing that we do is that we wanted our kids to feel a connection with other youth, because they lost that as the schools closed.
Right.
And so we have virtual teen socials that happen every Friday. In the middle of the pandemic, in the summer months, we reopened our club to limited programming, and we provided those outlets for our youth to have those connections with their peers and also gain skills and be able to have a creative outlet, whether it was in the visual arts department and being able to learn about different artists and replicating that artwork and being able to use art as a way to voice some of the frustrations that they're feeling as a result of that pandemic. We also have, we did water safety classes because we wanted to make sure that our families felt that, again, they weren't forgotten. We are here and we will continue to support them. And we are increasing the numbers, but we're still adhering to the CDC requirements and making sure that we are social distancing, keeping the mask, and making sure that the kids are safe. And so the other thing that we did was created academic pods here at our club to make sure that the little ones had help with navigating the different platforms. Because another thing that we learned from the pandemic is this whole notion, like the whole digital divide. And it wasn't just because there was a lack of technology, but there was a lack of support at home and guidance. And it wasn't because the parents didn't want to support them. It's just that they didn't have those computer skills to help their kids navigate the different platforms.
Huge response. So I love that you were flexible. I love that you needed to pivot. I love that you addressed the needs. And the biggest thing that I want to comment on is it's a reciprocal relationship. You are empowering families and you're not assuming what families need. You're asking, you're engaging them, you're there with them and for them. And then you're looking at where the gaps and holes are and saying, we'll partner with you on being able to do this. Kids are used to being at school. And so all of a sudden, when things just cut off and you're put in front of a computer, computer is supposed to be fun, sometimes doing work or whatever. And not everybody has one. Sometimes families are sharing a computer, and sometimes the skills aren't always there because they just haven't had the experience, not because they don't have the capability. So I love your response. And now that things are shifting where you're seeing kids back, do you feel that that gap is still rather large from when kids had to stop going to school and where they're picking up? Because that's something I think a lot of educators, not just in Boyle Heights and East LA, but a lot of places are going to have to reckon with. And I don't know if you're seeing that as well.
It's interesting, and I thank you for asking that question. We've been seeing those gaps. Those gaps existed prior to the pandemic, and that's what the pandemic really did, was really magnify the issues that we already knew existed in the community, whether it was a lack of access to healthcare, whether it was lack of access to quality education, whether it was a lack of access to employment opportunities. And so we saw all that prior to the pandemic, and what it did was just push it more at the forefront of our minds. And so as an organization, we're really trying to be responsive to that. And yes, we're going to have to help our kids get back on track. We're looking at the summer as an opportunity to provide opportunities for the kids to have access to a science lab, to have access to tutoring, and so that we start beginning to closing that divide or that gap and making sure that our kids are not as behind. And that doesn't mean that we're the end-all be-all solution, but it means that we find other partners that can provide additional programming and resources so that our kids have access to all the opportunities they need to achieve a meaningful and dignified life. It's our responsibility. We've been around since 1949, and what I love about our club and what I think is so great about the Variety Boys and Girls Club is that we have an amazing board of directors. I feel very fortunate because not every executive director gets along with their board, but our board members are always willing to roll up their sleeves and do the work that needs to get done so that we can eventually become that one-stop resource center here in Boyle Heights. For the past few years, I'm seeing the same imagery in our community. We're doing a great job in transforming individual lives, but what about their entire community and uplifting the entire community? And so with that said, being strategic, finding those partnerships, and really addressing the needs of the community, but also doing it in such a way where we're respectful of the community and being able to ask them and obtain their input. Because, we don't want them to feel like we're just imposing what we think they need.
So it does sound like outside of the kids that you do and the youth, that you also include the families in services or consider, which is really an expansion. It sounds like it's a relatively newer direction.
The community has always looked at our club as, I would say, as a second home, as a refuge. But we know, because we have the buy-in from the community and the respect and that partnership, we know that we could do more so that we could create that state that we desire and that we crave, which is to not see people congregating in front of a liquor store at 7 o'clock in the morning because they feel so frustrated with their life circumstances and have almost given up. We don't want anybody to feel that. We don't want anybody to get to that point where they feel like that's their way out. We have always looked to our parents as partners because we can't do the work alone.
That's great. It's really partnership within the whole community. What's the best way for folks to enroll in the club?
They typically get connected through the schools, but they come to our club and sign up. We don't turn away anyone. It was really hard. That was one thing that was really difficult during the pandemic, is because we're keeping in mind the safety of our club members and our staff, and we don't want to spread COVID or have an outbreak here at our club, we had to be mindful of the numbers. And for the first time, we had to say, like, we're going to add you to a wait list, which was heartbreaking, not only for me and my board and the staff members, but for the community, because we just wanted to make sure everyone was safe. With that said, anyone is welcome to come and be part of our club, be part of our Variety Boys and Girls Club family, sign a membership. And during the pandemic, with our donors who are invested in our club and our club members' future, we were able to waive and continue to waive the membership fees for the families.
And I imagine there is a sliding fee regardless if someone can't pay. Do you take a look at that? Yeah, that's great. I'd love to ask you, because it sounds like you have such a variety of programming that you offer. If you were to think about the programs that are the most popular or the activities that are the most popular, and this is probably a little bit of pre-COVID, I would imagine the Friday night teen one is very popular.
Visual arts department is very popular. They love the visual arts department. And now we have a ceramics program, and the kids get to work with clay. They have canvas painting. They are making puppets. They also learn about different artists and art movements. So the kids are really excited about that. They also love the community garden and being able to work in the garden. And so that's another popular location in our club. And so what we did is we really try to be creative with the usage of our space. Our garden, there was an outdoor area, patio area that nobody ever went to, although it was beautiful. And I thought, kids have limited access to green spaces, so we utilized that space to create a garden, and the kids really love the garden. The other room or department is our aquatic center. The kids love to be in the pool. And it makes sense because outside of the club, they really don't have access to pools and learning how to swim. And so that's another popular area. I would say that all of our departments are popular, but the proudest I am, and I feel, is with our college-bound programming, because it starts with our kids. And I know that some people will think, college outreach at 5 years old. Yes, it begins. We start planting the seed at a very young age, exposing the kids to the concept of college. More intensive through middle school and high school, where we're doing case management. But what I'm also proud of is the fact that we recognized that there was a need. We were really good at getting kids into college and helping them through our scholarship program, which has been around since 1972. What we didn't realize is that our kids lack the social capital that other kids in more affluent areas may have. And so that experience, and seeing one of our students who graduated from Princeton struggling to secure a job after college graduation, broke my heart. And it was very similar to my own experience. And I knew that we needed to do something for our scholarship recipients. So now we meet on a regular basis with our scholarship recipients. We provide them with quarterly workshops, and we track them, and we make sure that they have the resources they need. One, so that they graduate from college. And two, we want to make sure that they have the networks and that they have the internship and work experience to secure a good paying job after college graduation. So as I say, if you were to ask me, I'm sure the kids will have different opinions, but for me, our signature program is our college-bound program, because we don't look at it as a one-time opportunity or a workshop. It's something that's embedded in all of our programming.
I love that for so many reasons. And the biggest one is none of us are in isolation. We're all part of a village, and particularly kids in under-resourced areas need it even more so, obviously, because it isn't a natural thing that exists. Networks are things you have to build. These skills will be internalized by these students, and then they get to kind of figure it out with other students and with the leadership and the role model around the mentoring piece. So whoever's leading the webinars and the people that they connect with, and how you build a network. And I think it's absolutely essential. None of us do things alone. And so you're teaching that really important. That's really a life lesson that will be with them even post that first job. So I think that is absolutely brilliant and incredibly essential.
It's always great to hear someone else talk about what we're doing in the club, because it helps you reflect and really think about the practice and what we're doing here, and how maybe we think that we're doing a great job in an area, and in hearing someone else speak out loud about the club helps me just think about what we're doing now. But going back to what you were saying and talking about the college and beyond program and helping our scholarship recipients, I think that also shows how critical it is to have people from the community to be on staff, because there's firsthand knowledge that someone who's outside of the community wouldn't possess and wouldn't understand the same experiences that the community members are going through. Right. And because we have that firsthand knowledge, we're able to inform our practice and do something about it and create programming that challenges that issue or that gap.
Small and Gutsy is sponsored by the Intrinsic Group, my boutique management consulting firm specializing in guiding organizations to leverage talent, optimize processes, and to ensure the organization's narrative is aligned with their culture. We'd love to invite you to be a sponsor. So if you're interested in sponsoring Small and Gutsy to keep it going, please reach out to me at reachus@theintrinsicgroup.com.
Toward the end of our podcast, I always ask a round of quick and gutsy questions. So are you ready for our quick gutsy round?
Yes, I love it.
What is at the top of your wish list for Variety Boys and Girls Club? However, the answer can't be money or funding.
I already know it. I don't want to start crying because I get emotional about it. But it's for my club to feel a sense of empowerment. I'm sorry, I don't know why.
Take your time. It's beautiful. This is how closely connected. When I got the feeling that it's a second home, there's a reason I got that feeling from you.
So going back, I think for me, it would be providing them with an opportunity for them to feel empowered, to feel that they get to redefine their lives, and where they don't feel less than or they feel a sense of shame. I think what's really important and why I love this club so much, when the kids come, we don't see what they lack. We see all the possibilities in them. One of our kids who I think of, and it breaks my heart just thinking of his life circumstances right now. Like, we don't see like, oh, that's Jose, I don't see his parents, but what our staff sees is like, this is Jose who frequents the digital media department, who's amazing on Adobe Illustrator and Photoshop. And at that moment, we've tapped into something, and hopefully through that program, it will open a world of possibilities so that he doesn't get stuck and it doesn't become a cycle of poverty. And so when you ask me, I just start thinking about my kids, and I just recently learned about one of my scholarship recipients who is battling cancer, and and she's only 18. And so what I think about, and I think about this club and what makes it unique and what made me feel that sense of pride when I was offered the position of executive director, is because this club has a lot of heart and we're in it for the right reasons. And we're not feeling sorry for our kids, and we want them to feel empowered. And there are other organizations, unfortunately, that come from that very elitist perspective.
So what I hear in that is your approach is always finding the pearl. Because once you help them recognize their own pearl, keep it at the forefront, and the likelihood, and it may be for some the first time they're exploring success and feeling success in a way that they get to recognize with someone observing it in them. I love that you got emotional. Because this is where your heart is. This is why you love going to work.
I do. And I feel like there's so much more that I want to do for the community. It's my community. I grew up here.
And you've devoted your life to this, and it took you a little bit of time to figure out. You knew at age 10 there was an inequity that you couldn't tolerate, and you just had to take your path, and now you're creating that path for others. The only way our society survives is if we really consider it our society. And that's why we can do all these amazing things. And why aren't we recognizing that youth deserve all of what we can offer? Because that's what's going to propel us into a high-functioning, competitive society. And everyone should have that opportunity. So I love and appreciate what you're doing. Quick and Gutsy becomes a long one, but I can't help it, and neither can you, and it's great. I love it. If you were to think of a song that describes the Variety Boys and Girls Club, what would it be?
I love this question, and it's funny because there's moments in my life that I think of like, okay, if I was going through a breakup, this is my breakup song. Yeah. So, but now that you threw this out, if a song that describes our club, I don't know the name of the song, but
that's okay.
It's just heat that comes with the song, and I could describe it. It's from the Troll movie. Justin Timberlake, who I love and is awesome, and I love his music, but he has that one song, and it's like, I think it's Happy. The song, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
That's what the club feels like. I come to the club, even when I'm the most stressed, I go into one of those departments and I'm feeling like, gosh, I had to turn in like a proposal. But then I go into the department, see the kids, see their work and some of the outcomes, and it just brings a smile, automatic smile to my face.
What makes the Variety Boys and Girls Club gutsy? Because it is gutsy.
It's gutsy in the sense that sometimes as organizations, we conform and we get comfortable, but we're always pushing the boundaries. We're always thinking of other ways and more innovative ways to serve our community because there's a genuine love and connection with the community. And so I think that's what makes us gutsy, is that we're not afraid of a challenge. We're never satisfied because we know that our kids are deserving of more and much more.
You're doing it with your community. So the fact that your community is engaged could be seen as complicated, too many cooks in the kitchen, and it doesn't feel that way. It's a real buy-in process, which I think makes you gutsy too. It's really great. What is something that outsiders or maybe even some insiders don't know about the Variety Boys and Girls Club?
I guess the connection between like all the different stakeholders, how we operate as part of a family. You said this earlier, it's like an extension of our families. And I truly feel that that's what our board members feel. I feel that that's what our staff members feel. I feel like that's what our club members and their families feel. I don't know, maybe because we are very fortunate that we're surrounded by people who are like-minded, who are also truly invested and will also roll up their sleeves and aren't looking to give a one-time donation, but really want to continue making a difference. And so to answer your question, I guess what people don't know is that we operate like a family, an extension of our family.
People step in and step up is what it sounds like. And it's really, I think it's great. If you could get one celebrity or influencer to endorse or talk about the Variety Boys and Girls Club, who might that be?
That's such a great question. I would say Leonardo DiCaprio. One, because my favorite actor, favorite movie, What's Eating Gilbert Grape, but also because despite his celebrity status, he's so involved in his cause and he's so passionate. So I want that passion to translate or be infused in our club.
Any last thoughts or comments that you want to share?
Well, first and foremost, thank you for creating this platform. I think it's really important for us to have an opportunity, not just for me, but other organizations to share the work that they're doing. And sometimes as nonprofit, we don't have those spaces, or those spaces are limited. The fact that you thought of something and to create a platform for great organizations like this is you paying it forward. And I think I'm just very flattered and honored to be part of this podcast. And I thank you for spending the morning with me and taking the time to know about me and the organization.
Oh, I'm so touched by your response. It really is just like the passion that you have for the club. I feel driven and have a passion to do this. And my hope moving forward is that I will have a website platform where organizations can join and connect with each other, because as you pointed out so beautifully, is none of us do this alone. And so you connect with other programs, other organizations, people can share resources or go after maybe grant money if they collaborate together. So we've already started to see that as a byproduct of this podcast. And so my goal is to figure out a way to sustain that in another format as well and continue doing this. One last question before we close out the podcast is, what's the best way for folks to reach you?
vbgc.org. There's information about our club. I also feel like our social media, we have two staff members really focused on putting up stories about what we're doing. And really there you capture what we're doing on a daily basis. So you have a better understanding, and so that you can make sure that this is a match and this is an organization that you want to feel a connection with or be part of.
Great. Perfect. And we'll also include that, your website on our Instagram and in any of the social media that we do as well, so that we can help promote your organization.
In my professional journey, one of the things that I was craving was a sense of community. Oftentimes as nonprofit organizations, and this is why this platform is so valuable, we work in isolation.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until I became part of the City Scholars Fellowship, an amazing organization dedicated to really training and providing resources to executive directors who are working in underserved areas and have limited resources. But this program and the executive director, Kellyanne, is amazing, and she really provided this sense of community so that it lent itself for us to be able to work with each other, help me find my voice and be comfortable in my role.
So, Patty, I just want to thank you again for being here. It was just a wonderful conversation. I learned so much about the club and about you and your dedication. And my wish and hope is that you continue to be flexible and that the families and kids and youth and young adults who enter into the space of the Variety Boys and Girls Club come out with a stronger sense of self, a belief in their own power and their ability to make a difference in the world in the way that they choose to.
Thank you for listening. If you like this podcast, please share it with your friends, give us some stars and write a review on Apple or wherever you listen to podcasts, or buy us a coffee. buymeacoffee.com/small and gutsy. I want to thank my partners in this endeavor, my co-producer, sound engineer, and composer, the amazing Pavel Franson, my exceptionally talented graphic designer, Nate Addy, my social work intern extraordinaire, Stephanie Tran. Please check out their bios on the Intrinsic website, and all the folks, friends, and family who have guided and inspired me. And our blog of these small and gutsy nonprofits and social impact organizations can be found in the organizational stories section of the Intrinsic Group website, so that we can continue to link clients, volunteers, future employees, investors, and donors to this small but mighty network. Of course, we can't take responsibility outside of our own vetting of the organizations we interview, so before you sign on to support or work for them, we encourage you to do your own due diligence and research them as well. We just want you to learn about the small and gutsy nonprofit and social impact organizational sector so they can spread their story and their impactful work. From small and gutsy to big with impact, I'm Laura Witkoff, and thanks for listening.